Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Farming Flowers podcast. Today, I am so excited to announce that we are having a chat with one of my very favorite florists that we work with, Miss Gloria from High Desert Florals. So
Hello,
thank you
good
for
morning.
joining me today, Gloria. Starting off
Yes,
the
of
day
course.
right.
Exactly. That's how
Okay,
we do.
yes. Well, I just had a few questions I wanted to chat with you about and kind of get your perspective on local flowers and maybe just some advice and some different things. So maybe let's start out with telling everybody where you're located, maybe how long you've been doing floristry. Is that the right word? How long you've been a
Yes.
florist?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. So my name's Gloria Rice. I own High Desert Florals. We are located in downtown Redmond, Oregon, in a super cute shop. It's also a gift shop. So if you're ever in the area, come visit. We try hard to make it really cute. But I have been doing floristry since 2021. I actually am from Georgia. I did professional makeup for weddings for over 10 years. So I've been in the wedding industry for a long time and just kind of switched mediums. So yeah, it's going really well, and this is our busiest year yet. So I'm super excited to get all the local flowers for all my weddings.
Yay, that's great. Well, what was it that sort of made you want to shift into doing floristry away from makeup? Was it just the allure of all the flowers, or was
Right.
there
I mean,
something that triggered
obviously,
it?
yeah, so flowers are
Yeah.
amazing to be around and beautiful. So of course, like who wouldn't want that? But a couple of reasons is it was just something that kind of gave me peace. I love the arts in general. I've always done something um, with my hands, starting with sculpture as a really young child and like doing pottery for a long time and then getting into makeup and then getting into flowers. So I'm always doing something with my hands, always have been. So using flowers as my medium has definitely been a way to kind of relax me while I make money, which is nice. And also with floristry, as opposed to is makeup is so like soul focused. Like it would just have to be me. It would be so hard to entrust others to make a team. And with my business in floristry, I have a staff and freelancers, so I'm able to scale my business to be as large as I'd like it. So that's kind of where my preference towards going to floristry is.
Okay, that makes sense. When was it that you started really looking at doing local flowers? Did you cover things like that in floristry school, or how did you kind of come to the realization that local flowers are so fabulous?
So they, to be honest, they don't talk about that enough in floristry school because I did go to school and I'm certified, but they really didn't talk about that too much, which is really unfortunate. Really, where the awareness of local flowers came for me was Instagram. I think it's like
Oh.
it's my favorite social media platform, obviously. And, you know, looking for photos of inspiration and like knowing what tags to look for. And then like all these pictures of flowers come up and I'm like, oh, wow, I've like never seen that before when I obviously first started. What kind of flowers that I like do some more research. Oh, those are local flowers. And I'm like, so you're telling me I can get from my like big wholesalers just like these basic flowers, or I can get these
Hmm.
really badass flowers locally. I'd rather give my
Hmm.
clients those badass flowers. So then
Right.
it kind of like snowballed me into, reaching out to local farmers and, you know, that snowballed into them finding me as well. And yeah, that's really how that started.
Okay. Do you see, I mean, I think I know the answer to this being a flower farmer myself, but on the florist side of things, what kind of benefits do you see using local flowers as opposed to like the imported ones that come through the big wholesalers?
Yeah. So again, kind of that idea of they're just better. You get more unique options, they're better quality. And I do daily deliveries in my business and I also do lots of weddings. And with when you do weddings in a certain climate, when you source those local flowers, 9 times out of 10, those flowers will do better for your entire wedding event than if you were to get them imported from anywhere else. So the trust that your event flowers are going to be perfect is priceless to me. So, and also
Okay.
having that unique experience for your local customers too, who do the daily deliveries, and having, our style is a garden style anyway that we offer at High Desert Florals. So having the local gardeny flowers is pretty much our whole MO.
Okay. Do you like, especially when you started out, like before, because Gloria is one of our florists that we sell through the collective too. So before you were really um buying from a collective, what kind of challenges were there for you in just sourcing local flowers? I know you said you were reaching out to some local farmers. Was it like, did you just see people on Instagram that maybe were local and reach out that way? Or how do florists try to source local flowers?
Yeah, I think Instagram is the best tool. So if you're a farmer and you are not promoting on Instagram, definitely take this as a sign to sign up and start posting right now, because if farmers were local to me, and they weren't necessarily coming into my shop to talk to me, like, tag me in your post. Like, I'm okay with that. Like, send me a DM, or post to your stories and say like, hey, this is me, here's what I have. Or you can maybe like add in like local tags, so algorithm starts to show it to me. um, Basically things like that. But I feel like super lucky because when I first started High Desert Florals, I found Lisa like super quick.
Yeah.
So I have been buying from the collective for years. So I feel truly lucky with that.
Well, we feel truly lucky to have you as well. We appreciate our florists that are so committed to local flowers. And I mean, obviously we couldn't do this without you gals. So it's a beautiful partnership. If you can find, local florists that really value your flowers as a flower farmer, then that's a relationship that is just beautiful magic, in my opinion.
I know. And I
So
have to say one
okay.
thing to add to that too. It's you'll call me, and even before you finish your sentence, you're like, hey, we have this. I'm like, yes, I'll take it all.
Yes,
And you're like,
she
okay, well,
does.
it's this. And I'm like, yeah, I still want it for sure.
Yes, it's true. Yeah, you are not a hard sell at all. So then that sort of brings up the question of, because local flowers are not commodity flowers and they're not grown on these big farms where everything is absolutely perfect and everything is the exact same height. Um, do you find it challenging to deal with like the variability in, because local flowers are never going to necessarily be all identical? Do you find it challenging to deal with the variability in, sometimes it's different stem lengths or maybe, bloom sizes? Is that an issue in your design work, or is it something, I think I know the answer to this, that you embrace, and you
Yeah.
like the weirdos and the curlies and the goofballs? So
And I think that totally depends on whatever florist you're trying to approach's business model and their design. Me in particular, I love the funky guys. Like, I love
yeah.
when things are different, and I've trained my clients to like that as well. And also I think it's like it has to do with your sales approach as a florist. And if you're doing weddings, like if you're promising like exact things, then yeah, you have to like stress and find those exact things. Versus what I do is I sell an aesthetic or a style, and I get to do whatever I want. So they trust my judgment, and I source the cool stuff, which is majority local and the funky guys. So um
Yeah.
yeah, I love all the different things, any sort of variegation. Like, if I get a bunch and it's like supposed to be like red, but like there's like variations of red throughout, that like makes my heart so happy. So I love that.
Mm. That's really amazing, because I know a lot of florists are probably not in that zone where they're able to do that. So, and that's great that you have sort of educated your clients as well. And maybe is that something that you try to teach them about local flowers, or is that a conversation that comes up? Like if you're talking to a bride who wants to book her flowers, is that a conversation that comes up with you, with your clients?
So I wouldn't say it's a conversation, more so as me telling them what's going to happen, but in a sweet way, of course. But it's more
Yes.
like, hey, like, this is like what I like. And I'm like, oh, awesome. Well, this is what I can do for you. Kind of like, I can source these really cool local tulips that time of year, and they're amazing in these colors and these styles and super different. And I think it's all about how you talk to your customers about things. And if you say it in like an exciting way, they're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
cool, she knows what she's doing. Do whatever you want. Versus like, you must have like 45-inch stems for your roses.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's
Yeah.
not that's not my business model.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that makes sense then. So that probably kind of helps you in your own little niche of your design work, and people will come because they probably have that same sort of a concept in how they want their flowers to look. So that makes a good connection. I think someone that can understand the goofballs and the weirdos and the curvies and all those things. I think there are people that appreciate that and probably some people that don't. So well, then you were talking a little bit about tulips. So that was going to be my next question, is the seasonal changes for local flowers. Obviously, we're in Central Oregon and our growing season is very short here. And so we have to be really crafty and creative on extending our season. But so we have a tremendous amount of seasonality with what we can offer. So how do you handle the seasonality of local flowers, because you are in an area where our season is so short? What do you do like in the off season, or do you even have an off season?
So I wouldn't say I necessarily have an off season, because during my slow wedding season, it's busy retail, like your Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, and then all summer is weddings. So the
Mm-hmm.
way I handle the seasonality is I do modify my website as seasons change. So, and again, I think that's a good tip for farmers trying to reach out to florists. Like, look at your florist's website, look at their Instagram, look at their
Mm,
offerings. If they have super specific arrangements on their website, they might not like the funky guys or appreciate the
yeah.
seasonalities as someone like I do, who has a little bit more like designer's choice options that
Yeah.
are through each season. Like, I have like a designer's choice spring out right now that's super popular. And obviously that will be taken off my website and replaced with summer here soon. But um, yeah, you have to roll with it. I mean, that's the whole thing. You can't stress out about like, oh, I can't get tulips in July. Like, yeah, of course. Like, that's
Yeah.
how Mother Nature works. So you
Yeah.
pivot and you figure it out.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Okay, so then talking more about like the design concept, do local flowers, do they sort of change the way you design in any way? Since we were just talking about the goofballs and the weirdos and stuff, does that impact your design work in some way?
So I was thinking about that. And so obviously, as much as I would love to source 100% local, I do have to
Yeah,
get
I
some
know.
imported things. And I do tend, that I realized, and all my other designers too, will, again, we're garden style, so it's not very roundy moundy look, as we call
Mm-hmm.
it. But we'll notice that we will call our little dancers, like the flowers that kind of like poke out, that stand out a little bit more. Those will tend to be the local ones. Like right now, we just got a beautiful bunch of tulips. So all the designs we have will reflex the petals and have them like kind of be like the star of the show. But we
Yeah.
definitely tend to make those our little dancer floaters, kind of standing out
Okay.
of our arrangement. So yeah, we kind of make those ones stand out for sure.
Okay. Are there any local flowers that you would say are your absolute favorites? Are there some that are more fun to work with, or some that are just really good standards you like to just have in everything?
That is the hardest question you've ever asked me, Lisa. I love so many. Of course, local stock, there's nothing like that. And I think I already told you, like, I claim all of it. Sorry,
Yes.
everybody else. Um, I love local stock. Um, I love local tulips. I there's not anything that I don't love, except I
Okay.
don't love sunflowers too much, but that's just me. You know what I mean? But I'll still
Yeah.
buy if they look unique enough, I will still get them. Um, but anything that's different, like I don't want to get stuff that's basic, and anything unique
Hmm.
or fragrant or, dainty special, like that's what I love.
Okay. Well, that brought up the question. The next question was going to be, are there any that you absolutely don't like to work with or that you just don't like to have at all? And so sunflowers is probably top of that list.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're in such a kind of we have such a weird mix here in Central Oregon. I feel like we have a lot of country, but then we have like a lot of like
Hmm.
high-end luxury clients here too. Um, and people love those sunflowers, and they are a challenge to
Yeah,
design with. And
I
it
bet.
drives me crazy. The stems are so thick. Like I can deal with a thick dahlia stem all day long, but like I know people love them, but it's just not something I carry very often. Um,
Yeah.
but that's pretty much
Unless
it.
it's like unusual. Do you like that? I know some of our farmers have like the doubles and some of the plum colored ones and stuff. Are there any that are more acceptable in your mind, not rather than just the straight up, regular old orangey sunflower?
Yeah, I mean, if they have some sort of like variation to them that makes them different, for sure. And like I might get, a couple bunches here and there throughout the year just to say that I had them
Yeah.
for a moment. Or if
Yeah.
they were like a special order, but that's not what I like. I love like the scabiosa and Lysianthus and
Mhm.
the stock and um
Yeah.
all the romantic looking flowers. I wouldn't call sunflowers romantic, but
Yeah.
I know that's
Yeah,
just me.
those are
I know there's sunflower lovers.
yeah, there definitely are like in the zinnias. I know you are a big zinnia lover too.
Yes.
So
Uh,
that's
I'm ready
probably
for
a
those
better
now.
summer flower for you. I know.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to have a lot of them this year, so
Yay.
lots of colors. Okay, so let's shift just a little bit. And we kind of talked about this a little bit. So I wanted to just maybe have you offer some advice to maybe a beginning flower farmer or maybe one that hasn't approached a florist yet with their flowers. What would you say are like some do's and don'ts, or maybe how do you like to be approached? When do you like to be approached? Sort of what would you offer up as advice for maybe a flower farmer that wants to reach out to their local florist?
Yeah, so I've had this happen in good ways and in not so good ways. So some of the ways that kind of turned me off was there was someone who approached me last year, and she obviously had she obviously went to Home Depot and got some plants she saw that she really
Mm.
liked and tried to sell those. Like her nice little plants. I'm sure she took great care of them. But they were kind of basic flowers, and there's like bug bites on them. Like, and I'm not super picky again. Like nature is nature, right? Um,
Yeah.
but like they weren't processed correctly, they weren't conditioned correctly, and she wanted me to buy like all these flowers right off the bat. She like started bringing them in, like assumed that I was going to buy them off of her. I don't know if you remember this story, because I
No.
thought I told you about that. And I was like, hey, like, I appreciate you spending this time and cutting these flowers for me to look at. It's just not the quality um, that I look for. And I think a florist will see that. Like, if you aren't getting kind of like the better bulbs or seeds or whatever, I
Hmm.
don't do farming, so I don't know the terms. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, if they don't look like they've been treated well, we'll be able to tell when you bring them in. Um, but all the good people, which have been amazing, will drop off a sample box instead of assuming that I would buy it all the way. First off,
Hmm.
drop off a sample box, let me, assess the quality, take a look at it, respectfully ask for feedback. Not be offended if I have any sort of
Yeah.
critiques, because I want local flowers. Like I want those
Hmm.
farmers to be better because I want more stuff. So
Yeah.
people that handle that well, I love. But I really I usually, anyone that's really good that I see, I'm like, here's Lisa's phone number. Call Lisa,
Yeah.
become part of the collective, because I love being able to look at one website, have one
Hmm.
contact, and Lisa does all the work for for me. I love
Yes.
that. So I think, definitely show me what you got, but then join a collective or be a part of a collective, because I prefer that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I hear from other florists too, is this they're so busy and there's just not enough time to
Mhm.
source from so many. And we have 20 farmers in our collective, so there'd be no way really that or the florist that we work with
No.
could, contact 20 different farmers and arrange for 20 different deliveries and pay 20 different delivery fees. So trying to streamline it. So those of you that are out there in a small community, maybe reach out to other flower farmers that are in your area, and instead of viewing them as competition, come together as community. And because you probably will all do much better, because the florists are going to want to work with you, directly, and be able to access all these different flowers. So are there, I'm assuming like the beginning of the week is probably a better time for someone to come in. Do you like them to just cold call, just stop and drop off a bucket with how many flowers, stems would you say, and just leave their card? Or do you like people to make an appointment? Or what works for your scheduling, as because you're a really busy retail florist as well as doing all of your events?
Yeah, I would definitely reach out ahead of time to make sure I'm there, because I am out and about. And my girls are awesome at getting information, but I would like to meet them, and talk to
Yeah.
them, and kind of gauge like what their plans are, their goals are for what they're growing. And
Yeah.
um, I like to get excited too about their progress. So definitely calling ahead, or shooting an email or DM. Either way, I'm easy to contact. So that's not really a preference, but I would love to see what an entire bunch looks like to them. Whatever varieties they have at the time. So I can see like, okay, like I can see they treat all these different varieties the correct way, and
Mm,
things are conditioned properly. And, I think, we might have discussed this in the last podcast, having a little bit of insight for me as well. Like, hey, I vase tested this. This lasted 7 days. I put it in foam and it
yeah.
lasted 5 days, or like something like that. Um,
Yeah.
is super helpful for us to know too. Of course, we want to try on our own just to make sure. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I think testing things on your own, letting us know that information, wrapping up the bunches as you would sell to me in the future, and then just letting me try a couple different varieties that you guys have. I think that would be the best way.
Okay. Okay. That's good advice. So, beginning farmers out there, listen up. This is straight from the florist's mouth. Okay, so let's shift a little bit into maybe the other side of the farming part of it, and more on the design side. So, if there are designers out there who are considering maybe dipping their toe in the water of local flowers, is there anything that any advice you would give them, if they're not sure about local flowers? And I know there are a lot of florists. I've had conversations with a lot of them that just, it's not in their wheelhouse. They have no interest in local flowers. And so if there's somebody who's maybe a little curious, what advice would you give designers and other florists that maybe want to try some local flowers?
I see, that blows my mind that people are scared to even try.
Hmm.
Because it's going to offer your clients such a more unique experience. And even like the marketing aspect of saying like, this has local flowers, you are supporting multiple local businesses in your economy by the purchase of this bouquet. I mean, that in itself I feel like is such a strong thing to do. um Otherwise you're going to stay, I mean, I hate to say it, if you want to stay being a basic florist, then stay being a basic florist if you want. But that's not me. And I think a new generation of florists are coming out where it's not going to be them
Hmm.
either. I think that's kind of an older, like we call them FTD florists, kind of like that business
Hmm.
model going out. People want a little bit more of an elevated luxury experience, because getting flowers, that's a luxury. Not everyone can afford it. So why not make it super special and not something they can just get at a grocery store? So um, I think right now is a great time to get into the farming and like dial in how you're farming and what you're offering, because we're going to see like a huge influx of people really, really reaching out to that garden style and choosing those type of flowers. So, I just think it's unfortunate when people are too scared because they're really missing
Yeah.
out. And
Yeah.
I have no idea what to say to change those people's minds. Usually those people are really stuck in the 80s still,
Yeah. Yeah.
unfortunately.
True.
But
True.
that's pretty much all I
Yeah.
have for that one.
There probably are a lot of myths that go around about local flowers that, that maybe have just gone through time that people just believe to be true. Are there any myths that maybe that you've heard of that you can debunk that, local flowers are less quality or they're whatever? Do you ever hear anything like in the florist circles about, oh, local flowers are so what?
Actually, I never hear that. I hear the opposite. It
Oh,
is
okay, good.
all of my friends that are designers who I chit chat back and forth with, and even my reps at Mayash, don't tell anybody.
Mm.
We'll talk about how much better local flowers are. Like it's just like a known fact. Like, okay, maybe like your little front yard garden that you have a couple flowers are in, like as a normal person, you cut them and like they last a couple days inside. Okay, that's
Yeah,
not what local flower farmers do. That's not what they make. So
yeah,
maybe that's your experience, but these are professional farmers who have
yeah,
all the tools and they are babying the crap out of these flowers. So they are
yeah,
different than that. So if that's your
yeah.
opinion from what you experience, that's not what flower farmers are giving you. So I that's yeah, I never hear anything negative, only
Okay.
positive.
Okay, that's good. That does my heart well.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about pricing maybe and profitability, because local flowers, as I said earlier, are not commodity flowers. So does the fact that you source local flowers, do you see any impact to your profitability? Does that make a difference one way or the other for
I
you?
think if you're a good business person, you make it work.
Okay.
Like if I'm
Okay.
going to do certain price points, I design based off those price points because I know what I want to make off those arrangements. I'm not going to put myself and my business in a pickle just to make an arrangement without making the profit, because then I wouldn't be here right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you just need to make it work, and do some internal
Mm-hmm.
math and get that figured. But yeah, I would never recommend anyone put themselves in a financial pickle to do a design.
Okay. Good advice. Okay. Well, I think as we kind of wrap up a little bit, I did want to just pick your brain a little bit since you're already booking lots of weddings for this year and see if you have any color trends or even certain flower trends that you are seeing brides ask for, or just anything that are you seeing anything that's unique this year? We had some of the brides that we have booked for DIY buckets are all white and green this year. What are you seeing on your end?
I cannot believe how much white and green is on my schedule.
Really? You
This is the
too?
biggest white and green year I've ever had, which is cool
Interesting.
because a lot of my white and green weddings, they want, like unique touches, like where local flowers really would come into play. Like no one wants just basic white and green like roses, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited for. They want like texture, but like keeping it in that color palette, which is exciting. So
Okay.
mostly I did an assessment over my proposals yesterday, and I think I'm at like 75% white and green vibe. And then
Wow.
most of the other is pastel palettes. And I have a couple here and there that
Okay.
are bright colors, which will be gorgeous to kind of break that up throughout. But
Mm-hmm.
majority white and green, which is crazy because
Okay.
prior years have not been that way. But thank God this year I have
Yeah.
no pampas grass weddings. So I'm very thankful.
Yeah, that was big the last couple of years. And the jewel tones, that was like a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Where everything was like the burgundy and the dark oranges. And so interesting how that I don't even know how that comes to be. I mean, is this something that's a function of like the bridal magazines that everybody's getting like the prior year, and then they decide that's what they want for their wedding this year? I mean,
You know,
I don't even
I
know
have
how
not
color trends
figured that out
happen.
yet. It was very curious. I don't get it either. And
Yeah.
it's so funny. Like everyone's talking about that Pantone color of the year, Mocha Mousse. I have no
Yeah.
weddings with that color palette. I have zero
Yeah,
weddings
I
with that.
can't imagine anybody would want that as a wedding palette. I mean, it's a lovely color, but maybe for a bathroom. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't yeah, it's an interesting color. So,
Yeah.
I don't
So I
know.
don't know where things come from. It just happens.
It just happens.
Yeah.
Wow, well, it is the year of white and green. So,
Hmm.
oh gosh. Well, okay, my dear Gloria, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always such a delight to visit with you, and I am so just thankful and grateful that you are such a big supporter of local flowers, and I know all of our farmers appreciate you so much as well. So, thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Okay, I will see you soon.
Okay. Promise?
Yes, with
All
flowers.
right. Sounds good. Thanks, Lisa.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.